Today we have RTX A2000 versus God of War. Let's see if the little workstation card from Nvidia can handle Kratos and his temper. At 1080p with graphics set to high, the A2000 managed to hit 63 FPS on average. The 1% and 0.1% lows were not so far behind, 53 and 51 FPS. The frame rate was stable without drops or stutters, which resulted in a smooth and pleasant gameplay. No complaints here. Turning DLSS on resulted in a 77 FPS average frame rate, with 1% low at 63 and 0.1% at 57 FPS. This was a solid 22% increase of the average FPS, but the image quality was not so nice and it was visible that it was rendered in a lower resolution. Despite the 22% uplift in the average FPS, in my opinion at 1080p DLSS is not needed since the A2000 gives solid 60 plus FPS on average without the super sampling and with slightly better visual quality. Here is a visual comparison between DLSS off and on when using high graphical settings. The image with DLSS on looks a bit more artificial and less smooth compared with the native rendering. When using ultra graphics settings, the average frame rate was 44 FPS, with 1% and 0.1% lows at 34 and 32 FPS respectively. No drops below 30 frames, so you can definitely play the game with these settings, but the experience will be more cinematic. Not that this is a bad thing. DLSS on ultra settings resulted in a slightly better frame rate, 50 FPS average, which was more towards the 60 FPS zone, but similarly to high settings with DLSS, it was noticeable that the image was artificially tweaked. It was not bad or something dramatic, but you could feel it. So on ultra settings, turning DLSS on gave a 13% increase in the average frames. The difference in the lows was 9% and 13% for 1% and 0.1% respectively. And here is how it looks put side by side. When switching from high to ultra, we lost 30% from the average frame rate, 36% from the 1% low, and 37% from the 0.1% low. And what did we gain? Slightly better graphics with improved reflections. But is that big enough difference to sacrifice the frame rate? For me, no. Not that the game cannot be played on ultra, but I would prefer to have a stable 60 FPS on average, while still having a good enough graphics. Because high settings gave a pretty good graphics. DLSS made the average FPS on Ultra 35% less than the high settings. Both settings gave the specific sharpness of the image, and to be honest, I could not say that I saw a very distinguished difference between the two presets. Let me know if you do. So, can an A2000 handle God of War? Yes, it can. Even on highest quality settings, without DLSS, the game was playable and even the 0.1% never dropped below 30 FPS. I know, these days 60 is the norm, but 44 average FPS was definitely not unplayable. On the other hand, when on high settings and with DLSS on, the average frame rate increased with 75% and passed the 75 FPS barrier, so suitable even for slightly higher refresh rate monitors. However, the settings I would choose is high without DLSS. That gave pretty good visual quality of the game in combination with a solid 60 frames per second on average. That was it for this video. Hope you liked it and see you next time. Oh, and as usual, subscription to the channel is not required in order to close this page, but it's highly appreciated. Bye.